Mahdan and Land of Illusions. There was a young and intelligent man named Mahdan living in the modest house with his brothers. They were orphans who worked for the subsistence of the family. He was a genius with unmatched intelligence. He was present in the era of darkness, where the practices of witchcraft and the customs and traditions, accepted by the people who profit from it, and which are not related to the religion, spread. Their house was on the ground in front of the earth of a rich man who wants to take possession of it, destroy their house and drive the whole family away. And one day when Mahdan was contemplating the land of the rich man, he saw the daughter of this man who was above his horse who races with the wind. Suddenly, he saw her fall to the ground, and ran to her to save her and took her to his father's house. And he thought he would thank him for what he had done and put an end to his lawsuits and the idea of eviction and demolition of the house. But he heard the rich screaming above with obscene words and ugliest insults, adding that he was a poor beggar and filthy, and he insulted his dead brothers and relatives. Mahdan erased his anger in a country that has a spring of forgiveness and chastity. He did not insult this arrogant rich and returned to his home. When the beauty recovered from the shock, she sought Mahdan, who saved her and sat on the throne of her heart. She began to meet him furtively, but he refused because it was a good man who wanted it in halal. He gathered his strength and went to ask his father for the wedding. The rich man did not believe what he had done, so he decided to destroy him and his brothers. He gathered his bodyguards and ordered them to burn the Mahdan's house and seize the land by force. But Mahdan preceded him with his brilliant intelligence and informed his brethren of what would happen. He asked them to leave and go to their grandfather's house to protect them from this rich man's evil. Mahdan did not want to join them because he loved the rich man's daughter. When the guards came to burn the house, Mahdan was ready to spray them. He had dug a pit for them and almost wanted to burn them down, but his morality did not allow it. He informed the rich that he had learned of the crime and threatened him if he did not want to separate from him and his family. He would inform the king and would not back down from this decision. The rich thought of a plan that could not be done even by a demon. The rich man received Mahdan as a guest at his home and informed him that he agreed to be the husband of his daughter, but he made it a condition that he bring back the treasure of the Emperor Donium on a woman, and so he will marry his very beautiful daughter. Despite his knowledge of the deception of the rich man, Mahdan accepted the situation and left his beloved and went in search of provisions to go to the land of illusions. He began to walk on the road without return, but he was sure he would find a way back. He moved from plains to hills and mountains. He was in a battle with the heat and cold, covered with patience, yet he insisted on completing his terrifying journey. On the way, he met a good and wise shepherd who gave him good advice. He said, "Do not be fooled by appearances, that goes like a mirage. If you leave the meaning and essence of things, life will crush you and you stomp and destroy you. See with foresight and not with the eyes. The body is weak and the truth is far away. People are greedy in this world and they will only be dust." Mahdan left the shepherd and left with all will and determination. He arrived at the Valley of Appearances and found gold, pearls, and corals everywhere, and met beautiful women who received him with a laugh. He thought he had arrived at the treasure of Mahdan. His heart wanted to obey his desires and fantasies, and his mind raised many questions. Is access to this treasure so easy? What's going on in this place? She remembered the words of the shepherd and sought refuge with all against the cursed Satan and read the Quran. Suddenly, this valley returned to its hideous reality. It was full of snakes and not women, and all its territory consisted of rocks, scorpions, insects, and there was no gold, no pearls, no corals. The storm grew louder and stronger, and Mahdan heard a wicked voice shaking the earth and the sky. It was the voice of the Husaran magician. He was a trivial human being who did not like science or wisdom. He loved to kill time, bury the days and nights, and organize the anniversary of evil. He screamed at Mahdan to frighten him. He did not care for him. He took his sword and cut off the snakes' heads and knocked the magician to remove his head, which had no brains, from the above his neck. Mahdan continued to walk and sat in a gloomy place, and while he was eating, an old man stood in front of him and saluted him, and Mahdan gave him the salute. The old man said to him, "How did you get here? You are close to the treasure of Mahdan. Here is the world of illusions. The fire here is not a real fire. Because of your fear it seems to you real. Touch it and cross it is an illusion that deceives the people, and so the injustice scares us from the excess of our ignorance in the darkness. You think that you are in the arms of happiness and death will fall on you with its fangs, and that will be your end." Mahdan thanked the old man for the advice, and went on his way and found a palace that emits a light that captures the spirit and the heart, and he hurriedly went to the palace, and Mahdan himself received him, and he said to him, "I know that you love the beautiful girl of this arrogant rich, and I save you the trouble, and I bring you back your beloved to marry her immediately. We will arrange the wedding in the palace. You deserve to live happy." Mahdan believed him. The marriage began. He surpassed all imagination. his beloved arrived at the palace, and when they married, he wanted to hold her in his arms. The fire was returning around him and he knew he had been deceived. Mahdan remembered that this fire was just an illusion, and crossed it and carried his sword and cut off the head of Doniamanewamon. He took all the treasure and returned to his country, where he wanted to meet the arrogant rich who wanted to burn his house in his absence, but he fell into a hole and became handicapped and paid for his ignoble acts. Mahdan married his beautiful beloved when his brothers were coming home and the whole country was having great parties. He learned not to forget that the world is full of illusions, and that the eye does not see everything, and that the insight is a blessing of God. Signed by El Mahdi El Amri.